Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, you are warmly welcome. My name is Erica and thank you so much for stopping by. And to my old subscribers, thank you so much for your love and support always. I really appreciate it. And so just by the title of this video, today we are preparing waakye or waakye as a lot of people say it. And this delicious food originates from the northern part of Ghana, and as a northerner myself, let me show you how I prepare mine, and I know you will love it. But just before the video starts, please take a second and click on the subscribe button for me. I need you to join this beautiful family, and also click on the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever I post a video. And so thank you so much for doing that, and without further talking, let's get right into it.
Okay, so I am adding in my nicely washed beef to my pan, and then I would blend some onions, ginger, garlic, as well as some star anise seeds, coriander seeds, and then I have Aniseeds and some cloves. I have listed all ingredients in the description section, and so yeah, you can check that and it will be easier for you. And then once I am blending that, I will add in some salt and then one stock cube to my meat, that is beef stock cube, and then I'll add in the blended spices. I will then rinse my blender with a little bit of water and add it to it. And then once that is added, I will stir everything together nicely, and then I will cover and bring it to a boil. Okay, so my meat has been cooking for about 5 minutes, and at this point I'm adding in my cow foot to it. I have already cooked this cow foot for about an hour. I did not add any spices, I just added enough water and I cooked it on the side. So at this point it's not that hard. So I'm adding it to my meat so that it can also absorb some of the spices I added to the meat. Okay, so I added a little bit of water because I added the cow foot, and then I am stirring everything in nicely. I will then taste for salt because I added the water, and when I did, it needed a little bit of salt, so I have added that. I will then mix everything in together nicely, and then I will cover it and let it continue cooking. My meat is cooking, I will then prep my fish. I have already washed it nicely with some lemon and salt, and I am going to add a little bit of spices. So this type of fish is the one that they usually use in Ghana to sell waakye, and usually the kinky sellers. So I honestly don't know the English name of this fish, so if anybody knows, you can leave it down in the description section for me, or in the comment section for me. And then I added some salt and some fish seasoning, and I'm stirring everything in nicely, making sure that it's well mixed. And then once I have it that way, I usually shake it just to make sure that the spices, it's everywhere on the fish. And then I will cover it with a clinch foil, and I will put it aside for it to marinate for about 30 minutes to an hour. And so I'm checking back on my meat, and it looks good. It's been cooking for about 15 to 20 minutes. So I am taking out the beef from the stock, and I'll leave the cow foot in there. So I'm trying to fetch out all the beef from the stock. Because my cow foot is already cooked, it's not hard, so I'll not leave it boiling. I would put off the fire and I will put it aside. And then I have let my meat rest a little bit, and then in a frying pan I'm adding in some oil, and then once the oil gets hot I will add in my beef to fry. Okay, so once my beef has fried to a golden brown, I will not let it fry till it's too hard, but when it's turned golden brown, I will take everything off the fire. So once my beef is done and ready, I will then fry my fish. And so in the same oil, I am adding in my fish to fry that as well. So here I am turning the fish to make sure that the other side also fries nicely and making sure that it doesn't burn. And so once my fish is turned golden brown as well and both sides cooked through, I will then remove it from the oil and set that aside. And then in a pan, I will add in some of the oil. That's the same oil that I used to fry both the beef and the fish. I'm using the same oil because, it smells good and it is infused with all the spices from the meat. And so I'll add that to a pan, and I've added a little bit more of the oil because I'm going to fry the stew and I will need the oil to do that. Once I am done and the oil is too much, I will scoop some out of it. And so in the oil, I've added some onions as well as some bay leaves, which I have fried till it looks translucent. And then I am adding in some tinned tomatoes. So I am using a bit more of the tomato paste because I want the stew to be more. And one thing about this stew is that you can use it to eat plain rice. You can enjoy it with yam, plantain. And so once I make it this way, I am able to use it not just for waakye. And so I like to make it more, and then I can use it for other dishes as well. And then once my tinned tomatoes is frying in the oil, I will cut in some onions. I have both red and the yellow one. I will cut them up and then I'll add it to my blender. I also have some green, yellow and red bell peppers, which I am cutting them up, and then I will add that to the blender as well. Okay, so I'm also adding in some garlic cloves, some scotch bonnet pepper or habanero pepper, and then some fresh cayenne pepper as well. And then I will cut up some spring onions and I will add that to my blender as well. And then once I have that in, I will cut up some tomatoes. So I had about 4 medium-sized fresh tomatoes, and then I'll cut that up and add them to my ingredients in the blender as well. Ginger, some enough ginger. What is Waakye stew without the ginger? So I'll add that into it. So with the quantity of the ingredients, it will depend on you. If you are somebody who likes to prepare it like in a small proportion, you can do it. You can just reduce the ingredients and cook it anyhow you want it. And if you are someone who also likes to cook big like I do, you can cook it big. It freezes very well, and so you can freeze your stew and you can enjoy until it finishes. So here I am adding in my tomatoes. Because my blender was full, I left part of it, and now that I have space, I've added it, and I will continue to blend until it is smooth. So I am checking back on my stew, and my tin tomatoes is frying very nicely. It's been frying for about 10 minutes, and this is how it looks. It looks very good. And so at this point, I am adding in all my blended spices. And so I added some aniseeds, some star anise, and some cloves, just for it to give it extra flavor. And so I think I lost the footage for that, but I added that as well. And then I have some crushed canned tomatoes. I will add that to my blender, and then I will blend that until it's smooth. Usually the crushed tomatoes is a bit lumpy for me, and so I just blend it for a few seconds, and then I will add it to my stew. So after I added the blended spices, it has been boiling for additional 10 minutes, and this is the right time that I am adding the crushed canned tomatoes. So this is optional. You can decide not to use any canned crushed tomatoes, but I added it to it because I am making a big pot of stew, and so so I will mix it up nicely, and then I will cover it and let it continue cooking. Okay, so at this point there was a lot of splatter going on like every other stew. So it was not that easy, and so once you are cooking yours and there's a lot of splatter, it is normal with stew like Waakye stew. It is normal. So the stew had been frying for about additional 20 minutes, and I am adding in my stock. You can decide not to add the stock, which is fine, but I am adding mine to it. And at this point, the stew has a long way to go, so I will cover it and let it continue cooking. And so after the stew has been cooking for about 45 minutes, this is how it looks. Oil has started to form at the surface, and it is an indication that the stew is almost ready. And so just look at how rich and colorful the stew looks. So this is the right time for me to add in my salt, and then I'll add in some stock cubes as well. And then I will stir in everything nicely, and I will taste for salt at this point to see if it is okay. If it is not and I have to adjust it, I will go ahead and do it. And so at this point, I let it fry for additional 5 minutes, and I'm adding in my cow foot. And so because my cow foot was already cooked, it was not hard. But if yours is hard, then I would suggest that you add it in the earlier stages of the stew, where you added your blended ingredients like the bell peppers and all that. And so after I added my cow food, I would then add in my beef, my fried beef, and just look at that. This stew looks very appetizing already. And so I will stir in everything nicely, and then I would cover it back again and let it continue cooking. Once it has cooked for additional 5 minutes, I will add in some shrimp seasoning. Yeah, you can decide not to add it, that is fine, but it takes the flavor to another level. And so I'm adding that, and then I'll add in my curry powder and my nutmeg powder. And so I will then stir in everything nicely. Usually I love to add it, the curry powder and the nutmeg, at the latter stage when the stew is almost done. And then I'll add in some chopped onions for extra crunchiness and flavor. And so yeah, that's how it is. And just look at that, my stew looks very, very good. Yeah, and so my stew is almost ready. It is ready. As you can see, it looks very good. One thing about Waakye stew is you would have to be patient with it. And so keep frying it until you like how it looks. You can fry it even at this point a little longer for it to brown up. But I did not have that patience, so I just stopped here. And so the oil was too much for me, and like I said in the beginning, so I have scooped most of it out of the stew, and then I would add in some boiled eggs. And so yeah, you can decide to fry the boiled eggs in a little bit of oil to brown it up, or you can just leave it as it is. And then my stew is ready. I have set that aside. And if you're hearing any beeping sound in my video, please ignore that. It was my fire alarm. I don't know what was happening, but it was kept chipping and beeping. It wasn't anything serious. And so here I have my Waakye water, which I have done it already. So I'm demonstrating how I did it. So you see the dry Waakye leaves. I just fetched like a handful of it. I put it in a bowl and added some cayenne or saltpeter to it, added enough water, and let it sit for a day to 2 days to get this kind of concentration and pigment. And so you don't have to boil it on fire. All you need is just add it into a bowl, cover it with your cayenne, and then let it give you that concentration. And so once I added it to my pan, I added plain water to it because I realized that it was too pigmented, and so I added plain water to it just to give me the normal color that I want. And then I washed my beans. I am using 4 cups of beans, so I washed it nicely and I added it to my Waakye water. I then turned on my stove and I covered it and brought it to a boil. And so I boiled the beans in the Waakye water until it was almost cooked through. And so as you can see, it has been boiling for I think about 30 to 45 minutes. And then once I test it, I just take one and then I check to see if it is cooked, and it was almost cooked through. So at that point is when I added my 4 cups of rice. So I used 4 cups of beans, 4 cups of rice, 50-50. If you want more rice or more beans, then you could do 40-60 or vice versa. And so for me, I always want to do it 50-50 to give me that perfect texture that I need. And so once I added the rice, I didn't have to add any water again. The water in it was enough for me. And so at this point, I am adding salt to taste, and then I will stir in everything nicely. So I also tasted for salt and it was perfect, and so I covered it, and then it was the right time for me to cover my waakye with some foil, aluminum foil, so that it can trap in all the vapor to cook my rice. And so I added that to it nicely, and then I covered my pan and let my waakye continue to cook. So as my waakye was cooking, I added a little bit of water to a pan. I added some salt and I brought it to a boil. And then I checked back on my waakye, and family, just look at that. This looks very good. It looks very, very good. And with the white rice, you can decide to use brown rice if you have it, the local brown rice, or ofada rice as the Nigerians will call it. But if you don't have it, you can use white rice, which will also turn out beautifully like mine is. And so I am stirring in nicely and making sure that it's not burning. Usually it do burn a little bit at the bottom, so if it's burning, no problem, but just make sure that it's not burning through it, otherwise it will not give your waakye a good flavor. And so once I check that, I cover it back again and making sure that all the heat is trapped in there to get my waakye ready. And so the water that I put in the pan to boil was to cook my spaghetti. And so I'm using the very thin spaghetti, which is the vermicelli, if I'm not wrong. So the very thin ones. And then I will break them up, and then I will cook it in my water. Okay, so with the spaghetti, you can just look at the instructions on the package and to cook it so that you don't overcook it. And so once I have everything in, I will then mix it up, cover it, and bring it to a boil. And then once my spaghetti is also cooking, I will prep up my Gari or cassava flakes. And so I added a little bit of the Gari to a bowl. I added water, a little bit of water, not too much, just a sprinkle of water on it. And then once everything is mixed in nicely, I added some of my oil that I scooped from the stew, just to give my Gari that color. You know, sometimes when you go to the streets to buy waakye, you see that their Gari is always colorful, so this is how it is done. And then once that is ready, I will set it aside. I am checking back on my spaghetti and it is also cooked. And so I will strain it up, and then I will rinse it off with a little bit of cold water just to stop the cooking process and not let my spaghetti stick together. And so once I have that, I will put that into a bowl, add a little bit of the oil again, and then I will mix that in just to give it color again. So as you can see, the waakye will be so colorful. And so once that is all mixed in nicely, I will set that aside. And now I'm checking back on my waakye, and family, just look at that. It looks so good. It is cooked through to perfection. I just like the way it turned out beautifully, not too hard and not too soft. And this is exactly how you want your waakye to be, except that you want it in a different way. And so I would then cover it and put off my fire and let it simmer. And then on a separate bowl, I just prepared a simple salad. This is just lettuce and some spinach, red onions and some tomatoes. And yeah, that is to go with my waakye, and it is done. Family, thank you so much for sticking with me till this point. Our stew sitting pretty, our waakye sitting pretty as well, and our other accompaniments, you know what I mean. We have our gari here, our salad, our shito, our fish, and then our spaghetti, and our spoons that we are going to use to serve. And so, yeah, thank you for your patience and sticking with me till this point. At this point, all I can say is relax and watch me serve this waakye. And so to serve the waakye, the waakye goes on the plate first. So I have about 2 scoops of spoons, which is okay for me. And then I will add my gari on top of it, on top of the waakye. Yes. And then once I have that in, I will then add in some macaroni on the side, or spaghetti, or thalia, as we say it in Ghana, thalia. I will add that on the side, and then there goes my salad on the side as well. And then I'll top it up with the onions and the tomatoes, and just look at how colorful the plates looks already. And then it's time for me to add in my stew. So with my stew, I am adding, usually I don't like too much of the stew, so once I put the meat, the meat already has the stew on it, so I'll put some cow legs on it, and then I will put in some beef as well, and then I will add in egg to go with it. What is waakye without egg? And then once I have it in, just look at how beautiful my plate looks. It has all the colors one can think of. And then once I have that in, I will move on to add in my fish. Just look at that. It looks so beautiful. It looks so appetizing, I know at this point I have encouraged you so much to give it a try. And so go ahead, grab your ingredients and get cooking. And then once I have added in my fish, I will then add in some enough shito to go with. I will be bringing my shito recipe to you very soon. And then I will add in some avocado. So you see, this my waakye is fully packed. It has all one can think of, and just look at that. It looks beautiful and appetizing.
Hello, beautiful family, welcome back. Our waakye is done and ready. As you can see, it looks very good, and I hope you give this recipe a try. If you don't get it on your first try, don't worry, keep trying until you perfect it. And thank you so much for sticking with me. Please share this video, comment, like. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section, and don't keep this video to yourself. Please share to someone who might also benefit from this. And so for the taste test, so as you can see, this looks so delicious. I cannot wait, and I am just tasting it and letting you know how it is. This tastes so good. So I will leave you right here. Let me go off camera and enjoy my food. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in my next one shortly. Bye for now.